when I went through the first Jumpstart, I got 16 new students. I did Jumpstart again. I got 12 new students. And this last time I did Jumpstart, I got 14 students. Putting these actions to work. Like, you made me sit down. It was so funny because I looked up at one point when we was on the retreat and everybody was around the table.
That was the funniest thing. We were all working.
We're like, are y'all getting anywhere? But at the end of the end results, just like Demetra, I said, I want to increase my revenue by 20%. And I thought that was like, oh, because I hadn't seen numbers. I had my business since 2016. I'm like 20% and decrease my spending. Oh my God, my spending.
Welcome back to the Online Tutor Business Podcast, where we dive into the strategies to help independent tutors thrive. And today, we're talking about something that every tutor thinks they've mastered: goal setting. But here's the truth: most of us are doing it wrong. So joining me today are two incredible tutors who've cracked the code, they're getting smarter, they're using data, and the results speak for themselves. Demetra is a powerhouse reading and writing tutor who went from working nights and weekends to running a thriving full-time business. And she's here to share how breaking down her financials and staying accountable completely changed the game. And then there's Millie, an online middle school math tutor who not only surpassed her income goals, but also discovered how to keep more of what she earns by cutting unnecessary expenses. So her insights are going to inspire you to rethink the way that you approach planning. And both of these amazing tutors are leaders inside of our Insider Secrets Club 3.0, where they've turned goal setting into an art form. So today I am going to share how they went from winging it in their business to leading their business with intention, reflection, and community to back them up. So if you're ready to stop setting goals and start achieving and getting real results, let's get started. I love this. So welcome, ladies. Glad you are both here.
Hey, hi.
All right, so we're going to talk about, before you guys joined the community, what kind of goals did you set for yourself when you were planning alone? We're going to start with Millie.
I had already had my business, but year after year, I said, I'm going to get more students and I'm going to make 100,000. And that I would say it. And the process was, I say it and I worked hard. And then at the end of the year, I'm like, what?
So you thought that by working harder, that would help you to reach that 100,000.
I was working hard.
Yeah, no, I know. I've been with you long enough now to know how hard you were working and how low you were charging. And it's great to set these like big, ambitious goals, but then not to dive deeper into, okay, how are we going to make that happen? They're going to leave you in this state of almost depression when you don't reach them. And it can be so frustrating. How about for you, Demetra? What kind of goals did you set for yourself when you were planning alone?
Similar, same thing. I'm going to have X amount of students. And Millie, yes, it was $100,000 a year. I don't know. That must be the magic number. But for me, I've been part of this community since I've started. The thing is that I was not as involved in the community and should have been. And when I started getting involved and participating, that's when the magic started happening.
I love it. Yeah, I feel like there are two magic numbers inside of our community, the 50,000 and the 100,000. I feel like the 50,000 is because that's replacing our income. And I don't know about you guys, but the only people I knew back then that were earning 100,000 in the education world were like the administrators. And I never wanted to be an administrator. But the thought of being able to make 100,000 in my own business, like, just had this incredible feeling to it that I was like, yeah, I want to be able to reach that too. And everybody here who's listening to this has the ability to earn that 100K a year, which is incredible. But we can't just hope it into existence. So what are the biggest challenges that you faced when you were trying to set and achieve your goals on your own?
I was like, I was following blindly on people's suggestions because I felt a little bit desperate because I wasn't getting the traction that I hoped for in the beginning of the year. And I did that for a year, 4 or 5 years before I came across the Insider Secrets Club. And I bought Facebook ads. I offered these great deals like, hey, refer somebody and you get your next tutoring free, free assessments, everybody. Oh my God. I did that in hopes that when they got their results and saw how much help the kids need, they would register, they would take their results and go. And all of that. I was hand marking. Back then, I have a little bit different system now, but back then I was hand marking and hand analyzing hours and hours of giving away free assessments. And I did not get the return on investments.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you start reducing your rates, thinking that's going to help you be able to make more.
Yeah, I thought I'd get more people. I did, but it didn't help.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How about for you, Demetra?
For me, it was a little different because I was still in the classroom. So I was relying on my teacher salary to pay for things.
Right.
So it's not exactly like I wrote goals down or anything like that, even though I know I was supposed to. It was just more like whimsical. I did the free assessment thing, like Millie had done, but it wasn't really attracting people because I guess I just wasn't using the right wording of it. Just wasn't attracting them. I guess they just didn't want to know what their child's reading level was at the time. But through time, I realized that I needed specific numbers. I needed to know on a month, a yearly, a monthly, quarterly, weekly, what I needed to be doing in order to reach the $100,000. Um, but my goal was really to be able to retire earlier than anticipated and be able to do this more on a full-time hours. And I really thought my full-time hour was going to be like 40, 50, 60 hours a week tutoring kids. And it's nowhere near that. It's so much less.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, because you do groups now with your tutoring that you have. And so you don't necessarily need to work with your students one-on-one in order to be able to bring on the income.
When you're thinking, oh, yeah, if I could get just 40 kids, that's 40 hours a week. That's not bad because that's what you're doing when you're teaching, right? About 40 hours a week, plus all the free hours that you have to give the school system anyway. Then on top of that, the stuff that you work home, 50 kids is a lot of kids when you're doing it one-on-one. And
Yeah.
it's overwhelming on my brain
Yeah.
because everyone is a little bit different. So yeah. Plus, how can you do 40 to 50 kids when they get out of school maybe 3 o'clock? That means I will be working from maybe 4 to 10 o'clock at night. And that's not one of the goals that I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It just becomes insane when you think about where those 40 hours going to come from and how is that going to affect my life? And I think that when we can move past that idea that I can make a full-time income working 20 hours a week, which is unbelievable. Like I worked on average in the past year 14 hours a week with students and ended up bringing in like $80,000. And I was like, wow, that was only working 14 hours a week. And I had made a goal this year to work with less students because I wanted to focus more on the community. It worked out. As we think about joining the community, how has being part of the community changed the way you approach your goal setting?
I know the importance of making sure that I have SMART goals and then running those goals through the community or an accountability partner, my girl here, Millie. Just like whenever we get together, we're chatting. How are we going to do this? We're in the airport, wherever we need to be. We are definitely going to be talking about what we need to be doing to move forward.
What's the next step? Yep.
What is that next step? And did you do that step? And what was the success of it? What did you tweak? And let me run some ideas through you.
Yeah.
As crazy as they may sound, just listen to me.
And
Yeah, I guess
what
it's great to have another voice to have listen to your ideas, and because it helps you be able to flesh out your ideas, right?
Yeah,
perspective.
it's the community to me is like the teacher next door. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
you always had your bestie teachers, and you just, oh man, let me run this idea past them. Let me tell you about this awesome session I just had with the kids and all that kind of stuff. That's how the community is. Y'all like my besties. I'm gonna not go right next door. I'm gonna call you or text
Hmm.
you, Zoom you, koala you, something you to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I really learned being a part of the community was it's not just gaining knowledge, it's applying it. And like she said, the SMART goals. I remember we met, we're like, okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to win $100,000. How? Get more students. How?
I don't
Uh,
know.
they going to see me and come? And
Right?
then now, and all of the information and in the community, like she said, you got your I got my buddies, my fellow tutor heroes, and the whole assessment thing. I was doing that by hand, and it was one of my fellow tutor heroes. They're like, "You got this program. Why don't you just utilize it?" I'm like, "Oh, it does assessments, girl. You need." I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then I do, and I love that I could push that forward. So now I have someone else. I don't do group tutoring. I tutor maybe 8 to 10 hours a week.
Mhm.
But I have a crew. I
Yeah.
have a crew of teachers that love working for Nurture Minds, that love doing that one-on-one, that love using the systems that we have. They do not have to worry about lesson plan. I got them. What do you suggest for the next thing? Boom, I'm gonna put it in your little teacher recommendations. I'll find something for you to work on if you want to utilize. You don't have to, but and they love it. They could just come and do what they love like I do. I come in, I tutor, I love, I'm happy. And then when I'm not tutoring, I am building with all of y'all. Accountability partners is, whew, Joanne, she got that rod. She like, come on, let's do this. And I'm like, okay.
Because when you think about, there's a lot of people who have a community these days, and it's really like one person, and there are people who are just following their suggestions. But I think that's what makes the Insider Secrets Club 3.0 different, is that we have leaders inside of our community that are also mentors to the new people that are coming on into the community. And we do have calls that are just like community-based calls. It has nothing to do even with learning something new, but just implementing, right? Those
Mhm.
co-working calls that we have. So I think it does make a big difference compared to other things that are out there today. And I don't think there's anything else, to my awareness, that exists that is like our community. Can you share a specific example of a goal that you achieved since joining the community that maybe you wouldn't have reached if you were working on your own?
Sure, I guess I'll start, Millie, not unless you want to. Okay. So one of the goals was making sure that I meet you in person. It's one thing to be in the Hollywood squares, but I really find that when I hire a coach, I want to meet them in person. So one goal was to make sure I attend one of your retreats, which I did last year. Actually, was it almost this time last year?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And just being able to have that experience with you sitting one on one for, I think we had what, 2 1 hour sessions, and exposing myself on my financials. Like my goal was, this is my financials. How are we going to increase this? Because that retirement money from the school system, that's nothing. That pays the mortgage. That's just about it. What else are we going to do? Because there's no going back into the school system in the form of teaching. So that was one of the goals. Joanne and I sat there for the 2 hours on the 2 separate days, and we hashed it out. And in between, I did some things. I showed it to her. It looked like the plan was going to work. I made an aggressive goal of increasing by 30%. And that was very aggressive. And it worked. Yay.
And we came up with specific details on how are we going to do that as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It was very specific on a weekly, a monthly, quarterly, yearly. And then these are the things that I needed to do and how to do it, when to do it. It was intense, but it was needed. So I had to do it. But the thing is that once you do all of this goal setting and stuff, it's the implementation. You have to still do it. You can have the best plans written out. It's all nicely laid out in your book or on your digital device.
Decorated.
It's all decorated. It's hanging on the wall. And if you don't do anything, it's not going to happen. So I had to do it. And I had to hold myself accountable because I said, at the end of the year, I am not going to be telling Joanne, I didn't do this because, and I didn't do this because those are excuses. So
yeah. And that's such an important point that you bring on in is, I can come up with all of this, but you know what we need to take? Inspired action. And there's a difference between just action and inspired action, because we know what the goals are, and then we need to listen to our intuition or our higher power or God, whatever you want to be able to call it. We have to listen to that voice of, now what actions do I need to take, versus thinking, oh, this is just going to happen, because it's not just going to happen. I just have to continue to take the right actions. And when I take those right actions, it'll be inevitable. And we talk about inevitability a lot inside of our community, that it is inevitable. How about you, Millie? What is a specific example of a goal you've achieved since joining?
It was the same thing. When I joined the Insider Secrets Club, like Demetra, I was like, and I started with, I'm going to get more students. And you ask, okay, how? And then you're like, you go over there and think about it. And an hour was split up into 2.5 hours because I had to figure it out. And the amazing thing about it was, when I went through the first Jumpstart, I got 16 new students. I did Jumpstart again. I got 12 new students. And this last time I did Jumpstart, I got 14 students. Putting these actions to work. Like, you made me sit down. It was so funny because I looked up at one point when we was on the retreat and everybody was around the table.
That was the funniest thing. We were all working.
We're like, are y'all getting anywhere? But at the end of the end results, just like Demetra, I said, I want to increase my revenue by 20%. And I thought that was like, oh, because I hadn't seen numbers. I had my business since 2016. I'm like 20% and decrease my spending. Oh my God, my spending. Like, when you sit down with me, you're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm buying everything that's on sale for my business. I need that workbook. I need those pens. I need those markers. And by cutting all those expenses, I was able to give my tutors and my teachers an increase in their salary. Which they love. They didn't even expect it. I'm like, hey, this year you're making twice. Instead of getting all that other stuff, I'm going to give it. I got rid of my overhead. So I'm online. I'm not paying $1,300 a month for a place that I can't fill. Right. Because I thought it was a good idea. So now I'm giving it to them and they love it. And it was PayPal that said in my email, you may want to look at your analytics to set for the next year. I'm like, I increased by 44%. Wait a minute, that can't be right. I took out my calculator. I'm like, let me check that again. I was shocked. I'm like, 44%. So this year, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do another 20%. I'm going to get to that 100,000.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
But it's applied. It's not just getting the knowledge. It's applying the knowledge. And when you're in the circle, like Demetra said, we're like, hey, what's going on? Did you do what you said you were going to do? Oh, you know what happened? What happened was, we're going to meet next week and you should get there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so crazy because it's amazing when we like speak things out loud versus just speaking things inside of our head. There's just a different power, I feel, that comes with that. And an intentionality. And we need to be intentional in our business. And I use that word over and over again because I think we've just run our tutoring businesses like a hobby for a lot of us. Oh, we got a new student. Okay, great. And then we just take the actions of being able to work with that student, but we don't think about a lot of times the marketing that we put forth, the ways that we're going to attract new students, because in the past, it was a really big word of mouth business and people talk locally. So if I'm going to people's houses, they're talking with their friends and then they refer, and it really could work out well that way. But people don't always refer, even if they're having a good experience, for many different reasons. Could be they don't know somebody who's struggling in that area, so they're not having those conversations. But we really do need to run our business with intentionality. So yes, I can just assume I'm going to get some new students from word of mouth because that is just a funnel that's going to come through. But then there's other things that I have control over as well. How can I take a look at those ways to be able to get students using social media, using content, using videos, all of those different things, using my website? How can I use all those things to be able to attract the amount of students that I want into my business and use attraction marketing versus what we see a lot of other tutors do on out there, which is the hey, hire me posts. And the hey, hire me posts don't work. And you've probably seen people who put flyers on Facebook and other places, and they get very little engagement. People aren't talking, but we are a relationship business. We know that as tutors, but we don't think about applying that to our business. How has being surrounded by other like-minded tutors in our community motivated and inspired you, made you think differently?
Mindset. My whole mindset changed.
Yeah,
My mindset went from poverty mindset, imposter syndrome, to gratitude and abundance. That started the ball rolling. The coaching, I have had people put me to the side like, is it really worth it? I'm like, you can't put a price on it. The tutors, the collaborations, it's not competing, it's helping, supporting, and holding accountable and growing together. And this, I told you when I met you, I said, oh my God, you're real. And I was like, oh my God, you're real. And just the kind of genuine person that you are. And it just seems like you're attracting all these genuine people because me and Demetra, we like, hey, I'm from Brooklyn and we in the house. And then Katrina and Stacy, like, and Jennifer, like, and all these people. And it continues to grow. You're like, oh, they're such great people. It's so nice. Co-working call, targeting classes. I could go on and on. I could sum it up in a plethora of resources, videos, PDFs, other tutors that are higher, other tutors that you can help pull up. And I don't mean higher as in rank, but like maybe a little bit more advanced in their business. And
yeah,
then they helping you, and then you helping the people on the bottom. And there's a thing that you have where I've seen the video, and we're climbing a mountain and you're pulling somebody up. And that's what I felt. I felt like you pulled me up and now I'm pulling somebody else up. It's,
yes.
it's, it just goes on. I could go on and on. So you got to stop me.
I love it. How about for you, Devitra?
For me, it was more like knowing that I needed a different kind of community. I couldn't rely or relate with my teacher friends. It's totally different. Like I'm not talking about how to specifically teach a student. I got that. And that's what we would have had as a conversation, teacher to teacher. We're talking about building an empire, the process of how that works. So I needed people who are on that mindset. I
Right.
still have my teacher friends, but I need my tutor. I need the community. I need inside the Secrets Club people to understand what.
I found my tribe.
Yeah,
That's what I
Yes,
say all
it's
the
a
time. I
tribe,
found my tribe.
exactly. Mhm.
I love it. I love it. So let's go back to this like data stuff, right? Like how has reflecting on your past year's data, your income, your client retention, your marketing strategies, how has that impacted your ability to set smarter goals for this upcoming year?
For me, it's a constant mindset of a couple of things. One, because I am face to face and I attract the families of the school system that I worked in. So I know the little nuances that are going on in the schools, maybe within the classroom, within the school district. I know the missing elements. So when I am speaking to a potential client, a parent, I'm asking those questions and listening to their responses and still hear that they don't have the support they need for their child in the system.
Yeah.
It could be after school programs are no longer existing. The teacher doesn't have tutoring hours that's accommodating to them, nor should they have to. Why does a teacher have to be there 7 o'clock in the morning to help a child? They have families too. Why does a teacher have to be there to 5 o'clock in the evening tutoring kids? It's overwhelming, and that's why teachers are leaving. They're tired.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it does become so frustrating to take a look at that. How about you, Millie? How is reflecting on your past year's data, like your income, how many students you were bringing in, the marketing strategies you utilized? How has that impacted your ability to set goals for this upcoming year?
Last year, I was setting goals, not under, kind of having an idea. You helped me like clarify the ideas and the action plan. But because I've never done it that way, I realized you can't run your business like you run your house, not financially. And
Right.
I was like, oh, okay. So I did it. I didn't have understanding. Now I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, ah, I get it.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at the numbers. Every Friday I'm looking at my financials. I'm looking at
Uh-huh.
what, like this morning I woke up, I said, okay, I need to start doing this thing to promote, because I'm already thinking ahead about my next
Yes.
group classes that are going to be in the summer. And it's making me think ahead, and ideas are popping in my head. And I'm like, okay, I got this tutor, this other one's going to come back. And just by
Oh,
analyzing,
yeah.
and I can set better goals. I could set a better action plan. And this time I'm going in it knowing that it is, not that I doubt that it was possible, but I was a little hesitant. Like, can I really do this? That's a big number. And then when I saw that I blew it out the water, I'm like, oh, good, I can do this. Okay,
Yeah.
hey, I'll be seeing you soon, 100,000. Hi.
Yeah, I will be there. You are around that corner. Yes, I love it. That is so empowering too, to know that last year when you went through the process, you weren't sure necessarily what you were doing, but you trusted the process. Now looking back on the process, you're like, oh, I actually get the process and see how it's all coming together. So that is a really powerful to be able to do that. What advice would you give tutors who are still working on their own and haven't yet joined a community like this?
Listen, I'm very self-driven, very hardworking. That was a given, anyone that knows me. But being a part of the community, I've learned, like I said, it's not, I learned a lot. Like social media, whew, I learned so much. Marketing, I spent so much money marketing in the past, and now I'm like, I could do my own marketing. I didn't even realize I could. And I learned so much. You can learn so much. You don't know what you don't know. But when you come into a community, you have other people that know what you don't know, and you know what they don't know, and we share and we build and we support and we make each other laugh. And it's, I got my posse, I got my crew, I got
Yeah.
my tribe. So it's good to have, because there are tutors that sometimes fall, and then we're here, right here. We got you. We got you. I'm stuck here. Oh, did you try
Yes.
this and that? Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, on your own, you can't think of it. I saw these numbers, but didn't know how to get there. But by the guidance, and then by the accountability, and by the help and the motivation and the inspiration and the determination and the intentionality,
Yes.
that will get you through. If you want to see results, apply and get the results, get the information, but apply the information. But when you're in a group like this where you're not competing, trying to step on each other to get to the top, there's enough children out there for everybody.
Exactly.
I just need a couple of hundred.
And I think that's the beauty about the community too, is because we get to know each other so well, and we only really want to hire people that we know and trust ourselves. refer each other because we've gotten to know each other so well and what each other's strengths are, that when that perfect client comes along for a person, or we even hear somebody on social media who's, I'm looking for a blank, we have a name that pops on in and we can think of that person and put their name in the hat for that when they might have never even seen that post. So I think it's cool that we can do that as a community. How about for you, Demetria? What advice would you give tutors who are still working on their own and haven't yet joined a community like this?
I'm going to answer that more in a story. So I was speaking to a retired teacher who started her tutoring business last summer. And as of last week, still has 0 students. 0 students. And that actually broke my heart because I know that there's kids out there that need her. So, what is it that she's doing? And she shared some of the marketing strategies, some of the similar things that we do, but she doesn't have anybody to bounce ideas off or anything. She's alone. She's basically alone. She just about ready to give up. And I think recently she did join our Facebook community. She does have now that community. But as I explained to her, the Insider Secrets Club is a whole different community, and that she really needed our community also,
Yeah.
because to have 0 students since August, that's heartbreaking. That's just heartbreaking.
It means like she's putting her best efforts that she knows how to put out there on her own, but there are people who have come before her who could be guiding her into what steps she needs to take specifically so that she can build the business that is of her dreams. And she doesn't have to rely on just her own laurels. She can really take the wisdom of those who've come before her and jump on board. Yeah, it's people can watch all the YouTube videos that they want to and try to apply it, but still, you don't have the ability to get feedback on what you're trying, right? The only feedback you're getting is, okay, that didn't work. And so then you just think that strategy doesn't work, not maybe I didn't implement it the way that it was intended to be implemented. I have no way to be able to grow in my knowledge if
Yeah,
I don't know
sometimes we're
where I'm
just
making the
trying to
mistake.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Instead of when you can get someone to guide you, you're just trying to figure it out. And it's not that we can't, but we don't know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the guidance, that's the magic right there.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what's your biggest goal for this year, and how will the tools and support from the community help you achieve them?
Yeah, I was working on that vision board that
Yeah.
we're working on. It's coming out very nice. It is following the process that I did last year from the retreat, following your suggestions, staying within the community. I love our Wednesday coaching calls. I love our Thursday monthly focus. I take all of that in and really dive in and really apply it. I set not as an aggressive goal as last year. Instead of 30%, I said 10%. But in my mind, I'm like, you're going to do better than that. You're going to do better than that. But I decided not to do it just a tad different. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Who knows? Maybe at the end of the day, 10% is still a huge increase for so many businesses that
Yes.
people do not take for granted, right? If I'm making $60,000 a year, a 10% increase is $6,000. That's a really big increase.
That is a really big increase. And one of the goals I had coming into the new year was, how can I help those families that have reached out to me but didn't move forward for tutoring? And I sent an email letting them know that we're going to begin practicing for the statewide assessment, a lot different than they would do in the classroom. And I gave them a plan on how I was going to do it. I sent it out to 10 families because I wanted to do it in small chunks. So I sent it to 10 families. 3 families reached out. One kid started yesterday, and the other parent who has 2 kids will start next week. So
Go.
that is right. And that's just simply from people who have reached out to me, didn't move forward. And I'm talking about people who reached out to me in 2023.
Oh, wow.
2024, 2023. Some may have had an assessment, some just reached out for the consultation, but all in all, and so the one kid came yesterday. He had like an attitude. We got that straightened out. And he realized yes, because I asked him a couple of things. I'm like, do you think you could use some help with that? And he said, yes, you know what? I really do. I don't understand this. I'm like, good, then you're in the right place. He left with such a huge smile. His mother, when she came to pick him up, she was just like, oh my God, he's not grumpy or anything. She's, oh my God. She said, what did you do to my kid? I'm like, we just had fun learning. And he said, he left. Okay, I'll see you next week. Bye.
Oh,
Yeah, and that is awesome.
boy,
And
right?
that is from just a simple email from somebody. Her son didn't have an assessment. It was just a phone conversation between her and I in 2023.
Yeah.
So that says a lot. Just
It
reaching out
does.
to to those who didn't move forward.
This is such a beautiful wisdom too, because a lot of times we think that somebody reached out, they're not interested. It was probably because of the price, and we like make up our own story. We don't know what the real reason is, yet we make up our own story. And we just then write them off in a way, right? Whereas you found a way to be able to get back in touch with them and do that. And that comes with being intentional. Which people are leads? What people are you following up with? What was their response? How far did they get in the process? Let's reach back out to them again if they don't move forward. Those kinds of things are really great actions to be taking inside of our business. And if they don't really take that much extra effort, and you were able to reach out to 10 people with one email, honestly.
And I gave them something, like the email was the outline, but I gave them an interactive game that they can do with their child
Yeah.
based on vocabulary terms for the section of the test that we're going over now. And so my hope was is that the parent and the child will sit down and really work that game and realize, oh, you do know these words, or oh boy, we
Yeah.
need to get some help and really quickly.
Yes, yes. I love it. Thank you to both of you for coming in today and sharing your wisdom, your goals, how you are setting your goals with intentionality, how you are being specific with your goals and not just relying on a hope marketing strategy. If you are looking for support and you're listening to this, there'll be a link to come on in and join us in our Insiders Secrets Club. And we would love to welcome you with open arms into our community, because this is seriously, if you want to take your business to the next level, you have to start thinking differently. You have to start taking different actions, and this community will help guide you into that process. And we help create an online presence so you can get found online, and you then get special invites to other amazing things that we have inside of our community. So thank you so much again, ladies, for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.